I remember there was a match day. Match day is a big celebration and a very prominent memory for a lot of physicians. It's the day that they find out where they're going to go for school, for residency. Of course, because of this incident, I unfortunately was robbed of match day. It was very painful. I remember sitting in my closet and literally underneath a pile of clothes, just crying because I missed match day because of something that wasn't even my fault and something that I couldn't even control. And I remember thinking, okay, I can either sit here and cry amongst these clothes and water this carpet, or I can use these tears to water the ground that's going to be my foundation in being a surgeon. So I decided that day that I was never going to let somebody else determine my future, regardless of what I'm going through. And so I decided that day to fight for me being a surgeon. And so the goal no longer was make sure people see that I am right, make sure people see that I am valid or worthy. The goal was be a surgeon so that I can help people. Next level, come and take a ride to the future where brilliance and power lie.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Next Level Thinkers, a charting new horizons of brilliance podcast. Operating rooms are built for urgency. Every movement calculated, every decision final. But sometimes someone comes in walking into that space carrying more than training. They bring a deeper kind of preparation, one shaped by faith, culture, and a refusal to separate who they are from what they do. Dr. Kanene Ubesie is that person. She's a trauma surgeon with exacting standards, but she's also a wellness entrepreneur, a mentor, and a faith leader who brings healing, who believes healing should affirm the whole person, not just repair what's broken. She's often the only one in the room, the only woman, the only black voice, the only person asking if the system itself could do more than stabilize, if it could help people feel seen. She has redefined how those spaces could function. This conversation is about what gets embedded into systems when someone refuses to fragment their brilliance. You're listening to the Next Level Thinkers Charting New Horizons of Brilliance podcast. And today we're sitting with someone who doesn't just lead with skill, but with soul. Dr. Kanene Ubesie, nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank
you. Whenever I think of, when we kind of do research on people that are really reaching more, like doing more than's required, you already have an amazing pedigree in the medical field, right? But it extends beyond that.
Yes. And
learning about your journey, I said, man, we got to get Dr. Ubesie in the podcast, and I'm so excited to have you here today and to tap into what ignites you, what sets you on fire, and why you do the things you do. So it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm very honored. I feel very blessed to be sitting in this chair, speaking with you and telling my story. So I'm happy to be here, and let's go. Let's go. I was thinking about people go into operating rooms.
You're seeing you're a trauma surgeon,
yes.
So you see people in the most maybe broken and vulnerable position
of
space.
Course, yes.
When we think about it, it's like you have your patient puts their trust into the trauma surgeon's hands. They're saying, yes. Please help me help rehabilitate my personal injury, because I know I just went through something like that,
yes,
right?
Yes.
When you walk into an operating room, what shows up first, your faith or your training?
So I'm actually 4 surgeons in one. I'm a trauma surgeon, general surgeon, critical care surgeon, and burns and wounds. And so all of those surgeons I take them with me everywhere I go, especially in the operating room. When I show up in the operating room, my faith goes first. In fact, probably nobody knows this up until today. Yeah, wow. Before I even go into the operating room and before I even scrub in, I find a quiet corner outside of the operating room and I say a prayer. I pray for my patients. I pray and thank God for the gifts that He's given me to operate and have this opportunity to help somebody. They are literally on that table asleep at the hands of me. Through God, right?
Yeah.
Or at the hands of God through me. And so I have to cherish that. I have to carry that with honor. And anything can go wrong, anything, but everything can go right.
Yeah.
And that's what I pray for. I pray for an alive and well patient at the end of the case. I pray for steady hands. I pray for an astute mind. And God always comes through.
That's beautiful. It's so true. I just had my first major surgery with the hip replacement surgery.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I've never been put in that position where it's like so vulnerable, like this could go a certain way or could not go a certain way, right?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to hear you say that you're praying for your patients before you lay hands on, you put your hands in work into work, right? Serving your absolute faith to heal this person. So that's such an amazing thing to know about you. What was medicine never meant to prepare you for?
So medicine was never meant to prepare me for how physicians are treated, especially physicians of color, and especially female physicians, especially in the field of surgery. I came into medicine bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I still am. Medicine every day is a learning opportunity for me. I didn't know how deep discrimination and bias can go within the system of medicine. I'm thinking we're all here to help the human race, right? People come to us vulnerable, people come to us wanting to stay alive. Life doesn't have any color. Life has no boundaries other than the death that God gives us. And I didn't realize that discrimination also existed when it comes to human life and it comes to the people that actually care for those human beings. And so that was kind of a surprise for me in medicine, but I guess if it's in society, then it's everywhere else. So.
Yeah. How did your upbringing help you overcome this issue?
So both my parents are Nigerian. They are American citizens. They've been American citizens for a long time, decades. But they came here in the late 70s. My mom was a late teenager. My dad was in his early 20s. And they came here after they got married in Nigeria, started a whole family. There's 5 children. My parents are still married till this day. My dad built his dynasty from his 2 hands. He came here, he tells this story all the time, that he came here with $200 in his pocket, and now look where he's at. He's currently an OBGYN, he travels for work, he loves his job, but he instilled into all of his children to treat everyone with fairness and respect. He, later on in my medical school years, he used to tell me he regretted not teaching me how to see color or how to see people of different races, because it pained him to see me go through those experiences. He always taught us everybody is the same, whether they're a millionaire or they have 2 pennies, whether they're the president of a company or they're out on the streets. Everybody has the same amount of human dignity. And so that's how he taught me going into medicine. So you can see why it was a shock when I got into medicine and experienced the things I did.
Did you ever go back and talk to your dad, and he shares with you what he went through, and then do you see a difference in today's society and back then? I
honestly don't see much of a difference. He got a little bit more scrutiny because he was a foreigner and still had his foreign accent. And then I'm a woman, so I got a little bit more on that side. Honestly, he went to medical school and trained in the 80s, and it's still kind of the same today.
That's interesting. Yeah, when we think about culture, I'm a Hispanic male. Like, what is it about your Nigerian spirit that you like when you put on those gloves and you put on the mask to go in? What spirit of the Nigerian culture goes in with you as well? Kingdom
spirit, and that's the same spirit I take biblically as well. Nigerians have such a strong heart. They're so courageous, they're so thoughtful, and they put everything they have into one thing to make it the best. And it's almost a kingdom-like experience. Like, we are the best. Not saying that we're comparing to anybody else, that's not really what we're trying to do, but we want to be the best. And we want to make sure everybody that touches what we touch also is the best. So we like to share and experience with everybody else. So I take that with me.
That's beautiful, to have a proclamation of victory as well.
Yes.
It's like, hey, this is this is by God's design. This is about this God put me in this beautiful Nigerian woman into the hands of the person that's laying on the hospital bed trying to get their surgery done. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What was there a moment you realized the system wasn't neutral, and what shifted in you after that?
I think the biggest take on me, and I want people to know, I've been in training in medicine since 2003.
Okay.
And I've been a practicing surgeon for the past 11 years. So this is a long time. This is over almost 3 decades of education and training and work experience. So I would say probably 20% of that experience was discrimination and bias. And so it wasn't all of it. It was, for the most part, a very enjoyable experience, but that 20% was very impactful. And then the time that it became not neutral to me was in medical school. I had an incident with a fellow student that felt I just shouldn't be able to succeed in surgery. And so she was successful at convincing the school to go against me. I've never been in trouble before. I've been an A student, never been in the principal's office before. I was that student that all the teachers gloated about. I was that student that all the schools wanted to put on their pedestal. So I never knew what trouble in school was, right? But unfortunately, when you have a certain demographic that cries to authorities without that being investigated appropriately against another certain demographic, people that look like me, the tables are turned. And you don't have a say. And you basically are at the whim of whatever the authority wants to do, because your skin color tells people you're not believable. Your skin color tells people you're a criminal. Your skin color tells people that whatever comes out of your mouth is not the truth compared to your constituents. And that's what happened, and that kind of set the trajectory of how I saw medicine and life in general.
Yeah. Wow, that impacted me really hard. It got me emotional, honestly, because if you think about those type of cultural hurdles that they're unconscious biases, sometimes they're very conscious.
Yes.
You know, but those unconscious biases that people kind of lament over people's lives. You know, it's very disheartening. How did you? Was there a threshold that this one breaking point? You said, I'm tired of entertaining this mind. I'm tired of having this spirit around. I'm going to defeat this. Was there a moment where you're like, I got this. This is, I'm going to make this mine.
Yes.
This kingdom mine.
When I had to really dig deep. I remember there was match day. Match day is a big celebration and a very prominent memory for a lot of physicians. It's the day that they find out where they're going to go for school, for residency. Of course, because of this incident, I unfortunately was robbed of match day. It was very painful. I remember sitting in my closet and literally underneath a pile of clothes, just crying because I missed match day because of something that wasn't even my fault and something that I couldn't even control. And I remember thinking, okay, I can either sit here and cry amongst these clothes and water this carpet, or I can use these tears to water the ground that's going to be my foundation in being a surgeon. So I decided that day that I was never going to let somebody else determine my future, regardless of what I'm going through. And so I decided that day to fight for me being a surgeon. And so the goal no longer was make sure people see that I am right, make sure people see that I am valid or worthy. The goal was be a surgeon so that I can help people. So I had to switch my mind and my focus in order to keep going forward. And ironically, when after the match, I went to the scramble. I had to call different residencies to see what open positions they had. And through that, I found different people, constituents that saw the magic in me over the phone and connected with that and said, you know what, I'm going to fight for you. And these constituents did not look like me, but they were willing to help me. And so that also opened my eyes that not everyone is the same.
Yeah.
There are a few bad apples in the bunch, but not the whole bunch is bad. And to always look for the good in people.
That's beautiful, man. That's so motivating. I know because I've had that happen as well. Where I got off a plane, and the people from Ohio were like, "Wait, your last name is Rush. Your first name is Eric. I thought you're
confused.
Hispanic." Like, send him back. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
No, you know,
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
not in that way, but you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was kind of like, wait a minute, like what's going on here? You
Right,
know, that kind of
right.
one moment. So when I first started off this presentation, I said you were the only, right? The only woman, the only black voice, right? It's really now, it seems like it's turned into one and only. You know what I mean? Which is a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
It seems like that's where you're at right now. Would you say your position in that space now?
I do say there has to be a couple of times where I was the one and only, but I cannot leave my community behind. We are part, when I say we, I mean the people that are part of the double negatives, women and minorities, black and brown women in medicine. We are a big community and we support each other. And I am not alone in this. Even though I feel alone, I look alone, I am not alone in this. And I do have a cohort of women behind me and women that I'm behind as well and that I support to make this thing called medicine a thing for all. You know, we all have common ground, we all have common goals, and I share that with them. Now, individually, we each all have our own magic, for lack of better words, and that makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to look at it externally and just on a tangible level, yeah, in some spaces, most spaces, I am the one and only black woman in there, especially in the leadership roles. And so I use that as my opportunity to banish the norm and the stereotypes. I walk into that room and there's an instant stereotype of what a black woman should be, look like, talk, act, and I go against those norms. Sometimes it's a little confrontational because they don't know what to do. They're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I expected, right? Yeah. But then it's a blessing because it's an opportunity for me to share the good things about what it's like to be someone like me and what it's like to also carry the Lord with you. So.
That's so beautiful. That is amazing. I guess we talked about it a little bit. I guess where have your ethics been tested, and did you pass by your own standards? Did you pass your own standards when your ethics were tested?
Yeah, I did pass by my own standards. I would say recently I had a interesting event happen in my recent employment, and of course, it was expected for me to be angry, that angry black woman, and show up like that, and because it was unfair what happened to me, and what happened to me has no explanation to this day. I have not gotten an explanation, and it left me without a lot of resources, and it left me in pretty much a valley and a hole. So I was able to. How can I say? It was fair for me to have an emotion of anger, It wouldn't have been out of character for me to be angry and upset and disappointed. But instead of that, I use that as forgiveness because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? They're leading with their emotion, they're leading with their heart. Maybe not their heart, but emotion, definitely. They're leading with their mind. And that is not for me to judge and decide. And so instead of being angry and disappointed and react in that way, I thanked them. And I said, thank you for this opportunity. And then I took care of myself, right? I definitely went into my prayer closet and my devotions, and I just went to God, and He's provided for me and blessed me in so many ways that is beyond imaginable. And I'm grateful that I did not show them my offense. Instead, I showed them my forgiveness. So.
That's beautiful. I felt this omnipotent spirit when you were talking about, how you forgave, and that's just like majestic and magical. Thank you for sharing that. If you stopped treating wellness like an industry and started treating it like cultural repair, what would it look like?
Everybody would be healthy. It would look so awesome and amazing. I know, it's not culture to say awesome, but I like that word. But, if we actually treated people like human beings and like a culture and just alive and took care of people like we're supposed to, as opposed to take care of the bills, every single person will get equal access to health care. Every single person will feel alive and healthy. Every single person will feel loved. I cannot wait until we get to that moment.
You know, also in my introduction, I talked about individuals. I'll give you an experience that I just shared.
Sure.
I spent, you know, I'm dealing with the VA. I go through my VA with all my everything.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, I mean, it took a year and a half to just get the hip replacement surgery, right? In my opening, cold opening, I mentioned that people want to feel seen.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little about what that means to you.
Yes. So personally, feeling seen means that you're being heard and you're being considered. When you're not being considered, oftentimes people don't see you and they overlook you. And a lot of times people can turn that not being seen and not being considered into not being worthy. And we have to be really careful about that, because as you were born worthy, every single person on this earth was born worthy, and nothing can take that away from them. You can add to it if you want to, but every single person was born a cake. You may not have icing, you may not have candles,
I like that.
but you're born a cake,
Yeah.
right? You can't take a cake away once you make it. So, but when you're not seen, that's when you feel naked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think personally, there's been a lot of spaces where I haven't been seen, but that's okay. You know, a lot of times those are the times where you turn into your inner self and find who you are truly and work on that and build on that. Now, as far as my patients, I do realize the patients that feel seen and heard are the patients that do the best. When you don't feel seen and you don't feel heard, you don't listen to the physician, you become distrustful, you just don't do anything, and it's detrimental to your health. So I make sure every patient that I see, I'm a surgeon, so this is unheard of, but I talk to them. I explain what's going on in their language, okay, not doctor speak.
Yeah.
And I answer any questions that they have that they might have gotten from the internet or false information, and I answer it with love. I don't chastise them. I don't make them feel like they're stupid. You know, I explain everything. You know, why does my knee hurt? Oh, this is why. This is how you can help it. And when patients feel seen, they feel connected to you, and they instantly, it's almost like a magic pill that they take, and they get better faster.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I think I had that experience with Dr. Eldon Hopkins. He's amazing. You were one of the first. You're one of the first to build Frisco's from Texas Health of Frisco's first trauma designation program.
Yeah.
What values were you quietly embedding into the system when you were getting that going?
Yes. So I was a UT Southwestern. I was employed by UT Southwestern 100%, and this was one of their affiliate hospitals. And THR is another huge hospital system in Texas, but that one hospital was affiliated with UT Southwestern. So it was really under the UT Southwestern umbrella. And so when I got to work with UT Southwestern, it was really a full circle moment with me, because UT Southwestern was also the medical school my dad went to. And so to come back, and also my mentor, who's a surgeon, went to UT Southwestern with my dad. And to come back to Dallas and come back to UT Southwestern, I just felt like it was a full circle moment. So I was grateful. I felt honored to be on such a big institution and campus. And then when they put me as trauma medical director, they recruited me for that, because before that I was in Houston, and I helped 2 hospitals go through several designations as well. They recognized that history, and they brought me in to do the same at their hospital. I came in there, the hospital was in a deficit as far as getting their survey completed. And so I've never had the opportunity of working in a deficit and bringing it up to where it needs to be, but we did it in 8 months total. I was able to bring them out of that deficit and up to a point where we were acceptable for survey. But not only were we acceptable for survey, we were phenomenal. In fact, the surveyors at the state went back to the state and said THR Frisco is the hospital that every single hospital has to emulate in trauma survey. And so I was flabbergasted, because we worked so hard. I worked with 2 nurses, the trauma nurse, the head trauma nurse manager, and another trauma nurse. they're the most wonderful people. We worked as a team, we put our head down, and we put everything we had into this program. That taught me tenacity and resilience. It was some tough days, lots and lots of days. I would say 95% of the days I was working 16 to 18 hours a day.
Wow.
Doing operations, taking care of patients, and then quietly going to do administrative work so that we can bring this hospital out of the hole to where it needs to be a huge trauma system. And I made sure that every single day I poured into people that were working with me. Now, every single day I wasn't happy. Don't get me wrong. Every single day I wasn't like this, calm and collected, happy-go-lucky. It was frustrating, but we're humans, right? And that's what we have to understand. Not every day is going to be a great day.
Right.
And you have to give grace for those days, right? And I made sure that I was able to give grace to the nurses around me, the hospital administration, but also in that grace, exude a power enough to be able to bring them to where they needed to be. So.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a lot of, tapping into another. You have to have that faith, and you have to have that spiritual wisdom and emotional IQ.
Yes.
I have so much respect for nurses and doctors because the emotional IQ you have to endure with patients that are dealing with certain ailments that some of them may not be curable, some of them are curable, and you have to kind of
navigate that.
Navigate through that. Well, what a challenge. What do you do? What do you do when you're not doing those things? I know that you mentor students. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yes, I mentor students in my free time. I love to mentor students. That is academics, education, giving back to previous generations is my passion. And opening up new worlds for them is just my passion. Now, I don't have a lot of free time, and I try to mentor one at a time so I can dedicate to that. I recently spoke to a group of nurses at the Arizona College of Nursing School, and that was phenomenal. The nurses loved it. They had so many questions. They were so excited. I also did a suture clinic, the very first suture clinic at UT Dallas for Black students in medicine.
Wow.
And they asked me to come and teach them how to suture. They loved it. We sutured bananas. Nice. And they were really good, actually. They did a very good job. And just to see the light in their eyes light up and have them interested in medicine, seeing that it makes any 16 to 18 hour day just disappear. Like that is what I live for. Especially also when I see patients wake up from their surgery and they feel better, that there's a spark in their eye that just makes you say, okay, this is why I do this, right? Yeah. And so right now I am starting a internship and onboarding program in my clinic that I just soft launched this month. And my purpose is to provide a pathway for minority students, or all students, but I'm concentrating on minority students because they have kind of a leg backwards, and to promote them in medicine and let them see what it's like to be a physician in the hospital and in the outpatient base as well. Wow,
that's amazing. I can't wait to see when that. How's that growing? Is it building?
Oh, we just started.
Just started. Okay.
I have my first protege.
Yeah.
And so she's from my church, One Community Church. Hi. So yeah.
Okay. What systems or mindsets do you believe we must outgrow, and how is your leadership making that possible?
I think the systems and mindsets that we have to outgrow is that there's a boundary in life, in that nothing is attainable. But let me put a caveat on that. We have to be careful and treat that with maturity. Nothing is impossible, but you have to work for everything. And I think there's a sense of underachievement that's going around in our society today, where that's okay, because we don't have enough resources, or there's not enough mentorship going around, right? We're mentored by AI, or mentored by IG, or mentored by Facebook, all the medias, and not by real human beings. And I'm seeing the younger generation give up too easily. I'm seeing them wanting to do things that they dream and desire and aspire to, but because they go through one hiccup, they say it's not for me. And it's disheartening. And so I'm noticing as the years go by, I'm having to pour into the younger generations harder, more, because they're tired, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we need to give up the system that you can't try again, or there's a boundary, there's a ceiling, or I'm a certain color, I'm a certain gender, so I can't do this. You don't know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go through valleys in order to get to the mountaintops. You have to. Maybe you start at the mountaintop, but to get to the next mountaintop, you have to go through a valley, right? Yeah. And that's just part of life. And I think we're not instilling that tenacity and resilience enough in our younger generations or in our systems. And we have to really concentrate on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I was thinking about when you were saying that, I was thinking the word shortcuts is also a thing, right?
Yes.
Like taking that you think you can shortcut your way to becoming a surgeon. You can't shortcut your way.
There are no elevators.
Yeah, there's no elevators, right? I think there was an analogy with that, something like there was a staircase behind or something like that. I don't know which one that is, but no, I definitely believe what you're saying as far as like, you have to go through the valleys, and that's where your character is built.
Yes.
That's where the ownership of what you're doing, you really grasp with that. Also, what do you think about, like, I had this philosophy, at some point, like when you said, I'm going to be a surgeon. That's it. That's where I'm at. I have a mindset where it's like you don't have to start where you have, like, it's like you have to go from point A to point B, right? But you can start from where you want to be, which is a surgeon.
Yes.
And you don't have to start from point A. You don't have to start from people tell you where you have to start, or you have to finagle just to get to B, when you can start from B and go to C and D. Do you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that. In fact, I am a walking textbook of that.
That's what I feel.
I don't have the conventional walkway of a surgeon whatsoever. For example, my board exam, I'm a double board certified surgeon in general surgery and critical care, and I also did a burn fellowship as well. Burn fellowships unfortunately don't have a certification process, but you get a degree. So although I'm that, people are just, wow, that's so cool. It took me 7 years to get there. Okay, I took the same, so for board certification for general surgery, you have to do a written exam and you have to do an oral exam. And I took the same written exam 6 times, and they only offer it once a year.
Wow.
And then I took the oral portion twice, and you can take it multiple times a year, but I waited a year in between. So it took me that long to pass my board exams. Not because I didn't know the knowledge, it was because I had so much post-traumatic stress disorder from my experiences in training in medical school. And it wasn't until I actually started getting therapy and really tapping into my faith that I started passing the test. I literally would go into the testing room and see a blank screen for 2 hours. And then my oral exam, of course, the first time I did it was in a hotel room in front of a bunch of white surgeons. So that brought back a lot of PTSD for me.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of work with therapy to work through that. In order to pass my boards. And when I finally passed it, I passed it with flying colors. And I knew all the information. No one today can tell me that I don't know my knowledge.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, I went through residency twice. I went to the actual residency for 7 years, and then I went to another residency for 7 years while I was taking my boards. So I did residency for 14 years.
Hey, that's awesome. You're double, let's just say double board certified. It's like that God's credentialing your experience and He's making it stick for a lifetime, and that's beautiful. When pace threatens your peace, what anchors you back to joy?
Oh gosh, I would definitely have to say my worship. I have a huge Spotify worship playlist that I've curated myself. And I go there, and when everything is just crazy and I just feel like I'm spinning on wheels, I put on that playlist and I pray. Awesome. I pray and worship. And that's really what brings me back to just grounding me, right? And then outside of that, I am an avid fitness person. I love outdoors. I run. I'm a marathoner. So,
wow.
So fitness and faith are the 2 things that ground me.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you're gonna have to send me that playlist because I definitely need that worship. Wendy, Wendy, my breath coach is here, and my private yoga instructor is here, and she definitely sends me playlists all the time just to get everything very centered and get right back on track. Okay, so this is a part where I talk about like what else is there other things that you got, any interesting books that you've read that that helped you kind of, that you said, I've read this book while I was going through my journey that helped me grab a hold of this career a little bit stronger?
Yeah, so I always say this. I don't like saying this book because it's such a common book, but it really has really helped me shape my journey in life. And I've read it several times, and it's The Purpose-Driven Life. And so it's very faith-based, but it provides a foundation of having purpose in your life, and it's really helped me ground my feet into solid ground. So yeah,
that's beautiful. Yeah, I know. I went to the church. What's his name? Who wrote it? I forgot his name.
John Lewis, I think.
John Lewis?
Was it John? No, it wasn't John Lewis.
Pastor. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But, okay, well, but yeah, I went to the church. The guy
I should know. I read it like 3 times.
No. Okay, so this is the part where I turn it over to you. If you got something inspiring to say to someone who's kind of going down that journey, they're in medical school, they're white knuckling it, trying to get a grasp of a little African American woman that's just trying to break through those biases and limitations that are invisible, but definitely felt. Give some words of encouragement to somebody listening to this, a young lady that might be listening to this.
Yeah, so this would be for young women, young men, any age, any race, and any gender. Life is tough. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be, you know. If it's easy, then it'll be heaven on earth, right? I would have to say it always gets better. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to live through what you're going through. And it's easy for me to say that now because I'm somewhat on the other side of the tunnel, but I've been there, and I've been there recently, and I know what it feels like to have everything in your life go wrong. It seems like nothing is going right. I promise you it will get better. You just have to put your head down and keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep putting one idea in front of the other. Do one small thing. One puzzle piece makes a huge picture. And I promise you it will get better.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you got to be present to win.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to show up, just show up anyways. You know, what's it going to hurt you? It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. It's so exciting to meet you. What a fantastic journey you have, a trailblazer in your field, and breaking down all the barriers of being a woman, an African American voice in the community, Nigerian kingdom possessor, and it's a pleasure to know you today, and set some time to talk to you. We will talk again some more. I would love to have you on another some other podcasts, and maybe we can share some space together and collaborate with Dr. Hopkins when he comes in.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's great.
He's ortho, right?
Yeah, and he's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would love to see you guys connect.
Ortho and trauma surgeons in one room. You better be ready.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, yeah, I'll make sure I'm prepared because Dr. Hopkins is he's one of those guys, and but that's what I respect. I respect about him. But we'll get you all together, and we'll extend this conversation and have some more impact.
Thank you
it's a
so
pleasure
much.
to meet you
It's a
today
pleasure.
and have you on Next Level Thinkers, guys. That's a wrap. That's it for Next Level Thinkers, a Charting New Horizons of Brilliance podcast. As I always say, have peace and light in you, and remember that the ocean refuses no river.
Next level, we're reaching for the sky. Next level, thinkers, we're aiming high, pushing through the galaxies, no turning back. We're on a mission, blazing a new track. Next level, come and take a ride to the future where brilliance and power